Wow, we have a ton of news that was just announced today coming for Hearthstone across all of the game modes, things for this year, and just a ton of different changes. So let's jump in and start talking about everything that is happening. I will link everything in the description below for the blog posts and video and everything, and also, if you're only looking for certain topics, I'll have everything timestamped for you so you can skip to the parts that you want to watch. So, first off, we're going to get to the new year of, and this time it is year of the Hydra. So, I think that's pretty cool. We've already had a year of the dragon, so I'm happy with that. Year of the Hydra is pretty cool. We have our roadmap for the Year of the Hydra as well. And what they are doing this year is instead of implementing new game modes, like they kind of really focused on the last year or two, now they are really going to focus on the game modes that are already in the game, which is fantastic. But you can see in the roadmap here, that does mean that basically every phase of the year has something for the expansion, mini set. So card expansions are really for constructed, so for wild and standard. You have the battlegrounds, tavern brawls, mercenaries, and each one also seems to include a seasonal event and balance updates, plus a few things that are not revealed yet for phase 2 and 3, whereas phase 1 we are getting those core set changes. And talking about the core set, this is huge. So before they said that some would change, some wouldn't. So they kind of would start with their initial pool of cards for the core set and then change things out each year at the start of the year. And it actually shows 57 cards will be rotating out of core and 72 coming in, which means that it's going to have a total of 250 total cards, 15 more this year than we had before, plus, of course, the expansions and mini sets that are going to be coming throughout the year as well. That means that there are 15 more cards, class cards, and some neutral cards for people to have access to that doesn't cost them anything. So that's fantastic. Great change. Now, with so many different cards changing, 57 cards leaving, 72 cards coming in. Won't be going in depth into every single card there, but I do want to talk about some of the kind of big reveals or big things that they did talk about. So we saw in the video the 4 League of Explorers are coming back. So especially Reno Jackson is really an impactful card that I think will definitely impact the meta in a lot of ways. Some people are really happy to see Reno Jackson back. Some people not thrilled. A heal to full is pretty big in some matchups, but I will say, I think now, after we've seen decks get huge amounts of healing, I'm even thinking things like Fell or Quest Fell, Demon Hunter can heal almost back to full. Priest sometimes can do that. In the past, we've seen big swings with Druid and Warrior, both getting huge amounts of armor and essentially healing back to full. I'm not as concerned actually about Reno or feeling bad playing against Reno as I did before when it was in the meta. The next are these neutral cards. It's very interesting bringing some of these back. I'm really interested to see how Wild Pyromancer and Acolyte of Pain, especially, will impact some of the meta. Some decks really want to get draw. Tar Creeper is also kind of a fantastic card that hasn't been around for a while. So some of these neutral cards, very interesting. The mage cards they showed here, okay. I'm not super impressed with these coming back into core for mage, but I think they're okay. The Caligos, I think especially, is kind of interesting with some of the more expensive spells that we have in standard, especially now that we've gotten so that we'll have access to those with Caligos. Playing Caligos and then maybe getting a free Drakefire amulet could be interesting. So we'll have to see if there's something that comes about from these. And the priest cards, I think, are also very interesting. looking like kind of going back a little bit into Dragon Priest a little bit. And I know a lot of people I've seen kind of maybe excited about Lyra. I think Cleric also has always kind of been a very staple type card of Priest. So to see it come back is also going to be very interesting. I think a lot of these draw mechanics coming in and Priest having access to some of this stuff again is going to be very interesting for Priest. We see Tess Greymane coming back for Rogue. It's always been a fun card. We'll see how that ends up going. I'm really interested to see how people use Tess now as opposed to how they have in the past. Also interesting, she doesn't have any tags. So like we see with this burglar here, that's a pirate, Tess doesn't have anything. But I think people will try to have some fun with Tess again. Looking at Druid, Druid is getting a lot of choose one spells, which I am thrilled for. I have been saying for the last like 2 expansions now that I want to try to make a choose one Druid deck work again. So some of these choose one cards coming back into the core set, we might actually be able to do that. And also this Ancient of Lore coming back, it's unnerfed. Yeah, a lot of these changes are either buffing cards or returning cards kind of to how they were before. Looking at Wrath and Living Roots specifically, these are going to give Druid a lot of early game removal or early game potential to slow down against aggressive decks. The Hunter cards I think are really interesting. Candle Shots, I'm not really sure how great Candle Shot is, but it is the core set. So I guess for a weapon that people could have access to a lot easier than some of the expansion weapons, Candle Shot is not terrible. But Shaw especially gives a lot of potential for Hunter, especially because the fact that Shaw is other minions. It doesn't have a specific tag. Like it doesn't say your other beasts or your beasts have rush. It is just your other minions. So I think this is going to be a huge staple, at least in the beginning, for Hunter when there are less cards in the pool. And Animal Companion, yeah, everybody's favorite, is coming back. We can have a deck now with double Animal Companion and the Tavish Hero if you just want to do all sorts of Animal Companion things. For Paladin, it does look like they are leaning into the dragons a little bit again, and the Ragnarok's Light Lord is kind of interesting. Again, another change here. The Bronze Explorer used to be a 3-mana 2/3. Now it's coming back as a 3-mana 3/3, getting to discover a dragon. I mean, maybe you're running a Nixia. There are some other dragons coming out. You might be able to play those dragons, but also getting to discover a dragon is kind of interesting. You could discover Kazakhstan, but I'm not sure. I mean, depending on what kind of deck you're running, you might not get a great chance to play the Kazakhstan unless the other things in your deck are just dragons. I don't think there's going to be enough for that. But these are some pretty solid cards, and even the Amber Watcher is a pretty great card overall. I really am looking forward to Paladin, so I'm curious to see how some of these cards are going to fit in. And for Demon Hunter, they showed us Wrathscale Naga and Metamorphosis. The Wrathscale Naga looks like has a little bit of a health buff. I really think that that's going to be more of a staple card, I think, than Metamorphosis. Wrathscale Naga, there's so many more tokens now, I think, for Demon Hunter. So Wrathscale Naga has a lot of potential, I think, with some of the cards that have now come about with these last set or two. Maybe some sort of token type Demon Hunter might be a thing. In the blog post, there is a whole description of all of the cards that are leaving the core set. So quite a few cards, again, leaving. You can see all of these listed here, and a big group of cards leaving for neutral. But many of these, I think, probably won't really be missed. I think most of these cards just haven't really seen play, at least in standard, in most decks. I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of these to be leaving, and some of the cards that seem to be coming back are more looked forward to by people that I've seen talking about them already. So definitely huge changes for the core set. Now, I want to talk a bit about Mercenaries. You may know I have done some Mercenaries content. I love Mercenaries. I haven't played it quite as much recently just because there's been so many other things going on that I've been trying to put work into. And Mercenaries was struggling a bit for many people. It was just kind of starting to fall off. It wasn't what people were hoping for or looking for, but they announced some huge changes. And I have to say, I am really excited for some of these. There's new Mercenaries, of course. We got a new one with the patch, which I'll talk about later in the video. But I would say the two kind of biggest things that they talked about for Mercenaries is the first thing, excess coins for your Mercenaries. They are making a change to that. That's going to be coming later this year, where you'll be able to use excess coins that you might have for a mercenary. So if you have a mercenary maxed out, you have those coins still for that mercenary, you'll be able to spend those to basically get extra stuff, buff up in a way your merc so that it becomes even more powerful or gets some sort of effects. So a use for excess coins is fantastic. The big thing that is implemented with the patch that came out is that completing one task in a mercenary's task progression will automatically move you to the next one. So basically, you can actually have a task chain, a task, it's continuous. You don't have to worry about going and finding the mysterious stranger or skipping around in mercenaries, which is fantastic. Once you start it, you can just keep chugging along and get the tasks done for certain mercenaries. And if you do decide maybe you want to stop at a certain point on one, you can abandon that, and then you can still find it later from a mysterious stranger if you find one. But there's no more having to grind to find mysterious stranger and go out and seek that and do the repetitive play specifically for mysterious stranger to try to find and grind tasks. Fantastic change. It's so good. I know I've already seen a lot of people that are excited for this and want to go start playing Mercenaries again. Wonderful, wonderful update. And then for Battlegrounds, they also announced some big stuff for Battlegrounds, which I know has also gotten me really excited. And I want to play Battlegrounds with, I don't know what time I have to do that, but they are finally implementing actual seasons into Battlegrounds. And I think for me, especially being somebody who's been playing standard and playing the main mode of Hearthstone for so long, I am so used to having seasons. I'm used to having a specific time frame of when things will change, how long I have to work on my rank before it resets, working on getting maybe specific ranks or something hit for the rewards, like the end of season chest reward. And they are doing seasons for Battlegrounds now. So it will give a clear idea, finally, I think, of when big changes are happening. Special events, keywords, system changes, all of that. So that is fantastic. And everything's going to be starting with the first Battlegrounds season coming in 23.2. The patch that just came out is 23.0, so very soon on that. They're also implementing more cosmetics, which I don't know how they could even be expanding the cosmetics for Battlegrounds. That blows my mind because they've just been doing so many. But they're also going to add a progression system to Battlegrounds. And in the video, there was mention of even an updated UI in the future later on this year as well. Personally, for me, in terms of the UI, I would love to have both Battlegrounds and Standard if you could. But if you could have a place to go look at what you've accomplished in the game, such as for Battlegrounds, if you're looking at how many first place wins you got, when did you get all of those wins? Because I know for me, I played a lot heavier in the early days of Battlegrounds. And then the longer Battlegrounds has been out, the less and less I've played. So when I log in and look and see I have a ton of first place wins or a ton of top fours, but it seems like my rating is low, was because it shows all of those that I got, a year and a half ago. And then I come in and I don't have much rating because I haven't played since the latest resets. So that's something for me that I would love to see implemented into the UIs at some point. It does say the progression system for Battlegrounds some point mid-year. Stay tuned for more. Plus, they've been already implementing and doing these lobby legend events. We had the first one already. So tons of things going on for Battlegrounds. And now switching over to kind of the last portion here, talking about patch 23.0 that did launch today on April 5th. One big part of this week before the set, they've done this before, but they did revert the balance changes for a whole bunch of cards before they rotate to wild next week. So we have a kind of mini meta for the next week in standard as these cards have been reverted back. You can see the whole list here, but some of the big ones: Il'gynoth, Deck of Lunacy, Jandis. Oh my gosh, there's so many cards here that have changed. There is this new Diamond Drekthar that you can get with gold or money if you so choose in the shop. A whole bunch of Battlegrounds changes implemented, Mercenaries updates, and I mean, this is a new Mercenary, a ton of different balance changes, and I mean, a lot of changes. There are 22 different Mercenaries that are getting changes, some of them even getting multiple changes. There's a huge section here for duels updates in the patch notes, a bunch of things changing there, and some new things coming into duels. There is a section on arena updates. You could see the sets there that are going to be included for arena, and then a whole ton of bug fixes. But this is a lot more, I think, than most of us expected. We knew that there was going to be the new year of announcement. We knew that there was going to be core set changes. And we knew we were going to get the rest of the expansion, which I didn't even talk about the expansion cards, because today, 46 more cards, the last 46 cards for the expansion, were also revealed today. I'm going to be doing all of my thoughts. We do a full set review on the Doctor 3 podcast, and we will be doing a live stream for Amberflight Gaming where we're going to do a whole set review on Sunday the 10th for that. So the links again for all of that is down below if you want to hear my thoughts on all of those cards. This is always such a big time of year for Hearthstone. This is a huge reason why, is they just dump so many things. As we move through this next week, we are going to be getting ready for the new expansion. And Thursday, I'm doing the theory crafting stream. I will be getting to be a part of that. So I'm going to be probably building quite a few Paladin and Hunter decks specifically. So I am super excited for that. But thank you all so much for watching this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of this below, because there is a ton of stuff that they just revealed and announced. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below, and check out any of those links in the description as well. I hope you go out, make today legendary. I'll see you in the next one.